coronavirus infection, particularly as it relates to protecting oneself from getting the infection. So things like hand washing, for instance, things like respiratory hygiene. If you're coughing, keep away from people and cough into a tissue, for example, making sure that you disinfect surfaces. So all these measures work, but what works even more is keeping away from people that might be infected.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. So that's it from here. Nta2 is back to the studio.
Thank you, Nta2. And we'll be giving you more updates from time to time. In the meantime, 500 beds and other medical equipment have arrived the Sani Abacha Stadium Isolation Center as part of preparations against COVID-19 in Kano State. Fatima Sanusi Arai reports that preparations are in top gear for the center to be well equipped and ready for use if need be.
509 makeshift isolation center was established out of desire by the state government in collaboration with Nta2 Foundation to fight the spread of the deadly pandemic which is ravaging nations.
This isolation center is meant to treat only mild cases of coronavirus.
If there's any confirmed case, that's the one that will be moved forward to this particular isolation center. So it's not going to be open for everybody.
The center will house both female and male sections with 254 beds each in 2 different tents with mobile lavatories.
If there's any critical case, it can be transferred to the Corner Dawaiki Isolation Center, where we have ICU beds, ventilators and other oxygen and other facilities.
Kano State has not recorded any confirmed case of novel coronavirus, as all suspected cases tested negative.
In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Arai, NTA News.
Thank you, Fatima. Now, the aircraft which conveyed Chinese medical items and personnel from China to Nigeria has just arrived at the Nnamdi International Airport, Abuja, where representatives of the federal government and the Chinese government are ready to receive them. Emmanuel Ayimiru is at the international wing where the items and medical personnel are being received. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello, studio. I'm live at the international wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, where Nigeria is receiving the second foreign consignment of medical items coming from China. You remember that last 2 weeks, a couple of items came from Jack Ma Foundation, and this time around, a construction company based in Nigeria called CCECC has donated some of these items. The Nigerian local airline, that is the Air Peace, left China yesterday and arrived at the international wing this afternoon to deliver this item. A couple of minutes ago, the Minister of Health, Dr. Osai Ehanire, and the ambassador of China to Nigeria, Dr. Jinping, were on ground to receive these items, and they make remarkable comment about what those items should be used for. The Chinese ambassador said the total value of the item is about $1.5 million, and that these items are going to be used to contain the spread of the virus. Also, about 16 or 17 medical personnel also arrived the country. The Minister of Health said that those 16 medical personnel are going to be guaranteed for about 14 days, which is the required standard of days, until when they are allowed to begin to render some assistance. And when we try to find out what kind of assistance, he said the assistance will be in terms of capacity building.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel Ayimiru. Now, what about have you actually seen the goods? What are some of the things, what are some of the equipment that we have received? Can you hear me, Emmanuel? What
include?
Did you get that? What some of the equipment we have received?
The numbers have not been actually made known to us.
Bills that you've seen, have you actually seen any of the items? What are some of the materials? Have you seen any of them?
Behind me, the medical protective materials were not really brought out from the package. You can see them behind me. They are in their hundreds. Some have actually been taken into a waiting vehicle.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for that update. We'll rejoin you again later. Thank you very much. Now, fears have gripped residents of Folawio Street in Okerin area of Ilorin over the return of a woman who is believed to have attended the burial of the late suspected coronavirus index case in Ofa, Kwara State. Ahmed Fulani reports that the residents are willing to subject themselves to COVID-19 tests.
This is Ifesowapo Street in Okwere, Ilorin, and I am in front of the residence of the woman who is believed to have had contact with the wife of the late deceased who died of a suspected coronavirus. But the problem right now is that people living in this area are panicking because they don't feel safe.
So far, we did not know that the issue is real. People are saying, it is food poison. It is food poison. Some said it is coronavirus. So we did not believe, not until the result of the wife is out. That's when I believe.
The situation now is everybody is panicking because we all are aware of the COVID-19. And even we in the residence, we are afraid.
And now let's join Hingino John Adams in Lagos for contributions from that zone. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Nta2. Since the lockdown, Lagosians have continued to comply with the government and supermarkets are not left out. Annie Daniels reports that though it is no longer business as usual for supermarket operators due to low sales, they have however remained resolute in their fight against coronavirus.
Nta2 Taylor Street on Victoria Island houses several supermarkets. With the lockdown in Lagos, several of such supermarkets have closed for business, even when the signposts say supermarket is open. However, for a few that are still open to the public, COVID-19 is their greatest fear, so they are leaving nothing to chance to stop the spread of the virus.
Before you enter the supermarket, they go put the relaxers in your hand. You have to wash your hand and clean your hand before you go inside the bed. We are like it the way that they do it.
I'm impressed with the level of safety, and in the supermarkets they're checking our temperatures, giving us hand sanitizers.
Sometimes they say it's not safe to come to the shops for groceries because of the coronavirus. But if all these measures are in place, it will help one, and they will maintain distance.
Some other customers who declined speaking on camera and the management of these supermarkets say, as it is now, adhering to social distancing and the use of hand sanitizers will remain a very vital part of their daily routine until the unseen and deadly enemy, coronavirus, becomes a history. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
With the coronavirus pandemic adversely affecting businesses and livelihood, the federal government has given directive on provision of food items to the vulnerable. This, the Western Marine Command of the Nigeria Customs Service is keen into by providing bags of rice and other food items available from its storage facilities. The controller of the command, Oluboyega Peter, said this at a press briefing to showcase seizure of 340 bags of foreign rice and 4,500 liters of fuel. Michael Olale reports.
Regardless of the prevailing global pandemic, the Nigerian Customs Service is not compromising its constitutional responsibility as measures are being intensified to strengthen its anti-smuggling architecture and antics, especially as criminals might want to take advantage of the lockdown in Lagos to perpetrate their illegal acts. This vigilance is yielding results, which has led to the seizure of 342 bags of rice with duty paid value of 7.5 million naira. The most disturbing scenario was the use of 30 large sacks to smuggle petrol, with each containing 150 liters across border. Other items seized include 5 bales of fabric material and 2 bales of second-hand clothing.
The house we are making use of is filled up. That's why some of the items, some of the foreign rice now are now stacked outside. So within the next 24 hours, I'm sure we have been asked to send them to IDPs and the rest that continue to arrest them and seize their goods. But the best bet for them is to change their lifestyle, to change their means of livelihood from illegal business to legal business.
The entire seizure put at about 20 million naira were intersected at Yekeme and Badagry axis of the Western Waterways. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
That's it from Lagos. A break beckons now. The news continues after that.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Illegal oil refineries are devastating. Crude oil theft is criminal. Oil spill due to vandalism is dehumanizing. Piracy is inimical to the economy and international trade. From the creeks of the Niger Delta to the Atlantic Ocean, inland waterways and beyond, the activities of criminally minded Nigerians and their foreign collaborators have hampered Nigerian economic growth, constituted health hazards and environmental degradation. The Nigerian Navy is poised to put a stop to these activities. Remember, the harmonized standard operating procedure in the maritime sector for optimal benefits of the nation's economy is fully operational. The Nigerian Navy will leave no stone unturned to ensure defaulters face the full wrath of the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Be one. Support the Nigerian Navy. Onward together.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
James, I don't know, you need to answer your call. This. Hello?
Is this Mr. Peter? I'm calling from the NCDC. Your friend, Mr. James Okripocha, was brought in this morning and tested positive for the coronavirus. He mentioned that he had been in close contact with
God forbid bad thing.
Sir, I am not not saying that you have the virus, but you have spent some time with him over the past 14 days, and it is better if you self-isolate immediately.
I don't know any James at all. Even only James in the Bible that I know as a good Christian.
Sir, he showed us pictures.
Now, wow. If you have come in contact with someone who has tested positive for the coronavirus, self-isolating is key to protecting those around you. Remember, viruses don't move, people do. Stopping the spread is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfate Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Welcome back to our network studios, and still on the COVID-19 index case in Offa. We have joining us via Skype the Olofa of Offa on the mood after the death of the COVID-19 index case. Thank you for joining us, Your Royal Highness.
You're welcome.
Your Royal Highness, can you tell us the current mood in Offa regarding the COVID-19 case?
Everybody is just trying to make the last minute rush to buy some things in the market, as the governor has announced that from 6 p.m. today there will be total lockdown for about 14 days.
Now, Your Royal Highness, how about the sensitization? What efforts are you making to complement what government is doing to sensitize the people?
For more than 3 weeks now, we've been sensitizing our people, telling them the need for the social distancing, washing of hands, and thank God the state government gave us a lot of hand sanitizers and soaps and face masks, and which we have distributed to the whole people in the town. In a nutshell, the whole town is all aware of what needs to be done, and they are doing it now.
So now the stay-at-home order, how are residents reacting to the news of both the lockdown and the stay-at-home order?
We have made them to understand that the stay-at-home is for our own safety, and they have come to agree with us. So they are ready to abide by what the government said.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the update.
Very much. You're welcome.
And now close to 50 health workers have been trained on how to prevent and curtail the spread of COVID-19. The training was organized by the Benue State Action Committee on COVID-19 at the Government House, Makurdi. Charles Abba reports.
Well, I will say this is highly necessary, and based on the current happenings, it is very important to conscientize health workers every now and then.
So in the course of administering care to these patients, you can also infect yourself, especially with reference to COVID-19.
Participants at the training are medical doctors, nurses, laboratory technicians and others.
You know that this is a special group in the sense that those that work in the hospitals come in contact with their family members, with the public, with patients, and those that come to the hospital. So if any one of them gets down with it, you can see that it's the fastest way to go.
Paper presenters at the program, who cautioned the trainees to be wary of being predisposed to the virus, instructed them on step-by-step safety techniques from testing to the point of isolation of patients. The training is to be replicated in the 23 local government areas. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
And now from the training in Benue State, we'll take a look at how laboratory scientists are coping with COVID-19 in Nigeria. And joining us in the studio is the Dr. Casimir Ifeanyi, who is the National Publicity Secretary, Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria. You're welcome to our studios.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, COVID-19, this pandemic has affected everyone in the world, and everyone know that laboratory scientists are deeply involved in this fight. Can you tell us how so?
Yes, it's true. If you had listened to this afternoon's briefing by the Presidential Task Force COVID, you would have heard when the DG and CDC said it expressly that most of the healthcare professionals with him at NCDC are medical laboratory scientists. And that's how to show how vital the medical laboratory science profession is in health and disease time. And of course, at a time like this, we had said severally that what we need to do, we have been testing for close to 6 to 8 weeks now, and we have just tested, of course, not more than 7,000 persons. And we're quite lucky that the case rate is still very slow. We have 254 as of today. Now, what we need to do to really define the disease burden in Nigeria is to upscale testing. And that's why we must appeal to government, particularly the Director General of the NCDC, to take a closer look at the list of qualified medical laboratory scientists with skills and competencies in molecular diagnostics that the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria had transmitted to him. He should profile them and determine those that he could work with. Today he did say that med lab scientists do not leave the teaching hospital prepared to work in biosafety environments and other stringent requirements of molecular diagnostics. That used to be in the days when I and himself were together in the University of Nigeria. He has long changed. With cases, with interventions and programs we had with HIV, there are several PFAS-supported laboratories in our federal medical centers, in our teaching hospitals, that we can ride on as a platform for upscaling training. And I want to assure him that we are richly endowed with medical laboratory scientists with competencies and skill in molecular diagnostics. We are the ones training them. We are not telling him what does not exist. If you move around the tuberculosis control programs, where we have well over 700 gene expert machines deployed in Nigeria, is a molecular technique. And medical lab scientists are actually the ones behind them.
Let me cut you there, Doctor, and focus on upscaling testing, which you mentioned.
Yes.
The process of tracing those who have had contact, how has that been for the medical laboratories, the lab scientists?
You see, when you talk about public health disease surveillance, that is where tracing comes in. It cannot be done without the medical laboratory. It's like navigating without a compass. The compass for health and disease across the globe and everywhere is medical laboratory science. In this pandemic that we have today, if you go close to, of course, the epicenter, the infectious disease hospital in Yaba, mainland Yaba, Lagos, you find out that medical laboratory scientists are the front runners in contact tracing that you have talked about, because you will, like the advert you just played on your during your interview, you find out that that person was contacted, and so eventually a team, including a medical lab scientist, may go to his home, and it is until we sample him that you can determine his status. And so we actually encounter COVID-19 naked, because as at the time somebody has not been sampled and tested, which is the time the person interfaces with us, we are dealing with what is unknown. And the likelihood of being compromised or contacting the disease is higher when it has not been clearly defined. When it is defined, the status is known, and I'm approaching the person, I put on the requisite PPE. But for us, because of our training, we are prepared to treat every person as a suspect.
All right, Doctor, I'd like to ask you many more questions, but we've run out of time and we'll have to stop there. But thank you for that update.
It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. And we'll commend the President of the Federal Republic for what he has done so far. He has shown demonstrable political will at dealing with this pandemic.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Now, Kemi Akinwande is standing by in Ibadan with more reports. We'll join Ibadan later. Now we'll be joining Professor Wali Suleiman via Skype to give us more updates on COVID-19. Hello, Professor.
Hello, good evening. How are you doing today?
Thank you for joining us via Skype. Sadly, there's been a death from COVID-19 in Kwara State. Now, can you tell us about the efforts to trace those who have been in contact with the Index case and his wife?
Well, the connection is poor, but thank you for the opportunity to connect with you via the NTA station. I've been enjoying your program. So just the point of clarification, the individual that died in Kwara State was never confirmed to have COVID-19 because he was never arrested. But because of his travel history, because he had exhibited some symptoms that may have been consistent with COVID-19, the fact that we found that his wife, who is one of the two patients that now have COVID-19, tested positive. So we can assume that he was positive, but he was never tested, so he's not a confirmed COVID-19 death.
So what are you doing to allay the fears of the people, and what are you doing to increase the level of awareness?
So as you may know, the Kwara State it's really been ahead of a lot of states in terms of preparedness for COVID-19. We finished our isolation center months before we even talked. Everybody was talking about COVID-19. We have now created about 1,000 bed capacity to make sure we can take care of all levels of patients that may need care, either for quarantine, for observation, oxygen therapy, or even critical care. We formed a very robust and active COVID-19 committee, and one of which is the public awareness and education. And they've been going around talking, engaging in playing jingles on radio interviews, TV interviews, just like what I'm doing now. We've made some pamphlets, posters. We've also engaged the traditional rulers and community leaders to make sure that people are aware of this disease. The basic message of you don't go to any social gathering. We actually shut down any, we stopped all any form of social gathering, either religious or and that's gone a long way, but we need to continue to do more, especially now that we have cases in Kwara State. The patients that have been confirmed to be positive, they are now in our isolation center. They're doing well, they're not symptomatic, and we're just making sure that once we get 2 subsequent tests that are negative, then we'll be able to release them back to their families.
So tell us a bit more about the isolation center in terms of equipment and preparedness.
So thank you for that question. As I was saying, the isolation center was actually built months before COVID-19 became an issue. It's a state-of-the-art isolation center that now we're using at the highest level of care for patients that may have COVID-19. So we have ICU type bed there. We have we have a couple of ventilators that are being equipped, that are being installed now. We have patient monitors. All the equipment that you'll find in the intensive care, with the exception of the shortage of ventilators, we have them there. But besides that, we also have, like I said earlier, about 1,000 bed capacity. So we converted one of our hospitals into a COVID-19 hospital, which is a sub-specialist hospital. In that hospital, there's about 350 bed capacity, where we can put 3 types of patients. Those that need intensive care, that can go to the ICU, which is the 10 to 15 bed ICU. Those that need to come into the hospital to be observed, they will go to one of the 2 blocks. And then those that need oxygen therapy, we will also have oxygen with them. And in addition to that, we're renovating our camp to create a 600 bed capacity in case we need to isolate more people that cannot do self-isolation at home, given their living condition.
All right, Professor, in light of the poor connection, I'm going to have to stop there. So thank you very much for giving us insights. Thank you very much. And now we'll join Kemi Akinwande in Ibadan for more reports.
Nta2 and welcome to Ibadan. Thousands of households who benefited from the monthly conditional cash transfer of the federal government have been urged to use the money for pressing needs that can cushion the effect of COVID-19 on the economy. Dayo Gushala, who monitored the payments in Ibadan, takes it up from here.
For the benefiting households in Oyo State put at 13,806, this kind of intervention cannot come at a better time than now, as it's a test of the federal government's goodwill. Gathered in their tents, not unmindful of the social distance requirement to contain further spread of coronavirus pandemic, the beneficiaries, including aged men, women, and physically challenged, described the intervention as a novelty brought to relieve the poor.
We use the money for small trade, and a lot of profits is being realized for our daily needs.
I need to thank the government for coming to our aid. This is because we did not work for them. Government is only being considerate.
Oyo State Commissioner for Women Affairs, joined by the head of the State Cash Transfer Unit to monitor the exercise, urged the officials in charge to be accountable.
The money being given to beneficiary or the people collecting it actually gets to them, and that we have seen. But we appeal to them that they should make judicious use of it.
By the end of the whole exercise, they will not get back to the former position where they were before the exercise started.
Additional cash transfer to the vulnerable is one of the social intervention programs championed by the federal government to alleviate the suffering of the poor. In Ibadan, Dayo Gushala, Nta News.
Oyo and Osun State governments enforced restriction of movement into their states to curb the spread of COVID-19. Larry Milei was at Ashijire, boundary between the two states, and brought back this report.
At the border between Oyo and Osun, was restricted as directed by the Osun State government to flatten the curve of the spread of coronavirus pandemic. The security agents did not take any chances. Vehicles were vetted on the spot. The ones carrying essential goods such as food, drugs, and other essential needs were allowed to move on, while others, without genuine reasons, were turned back.
The police, they cover the roads, so not allowed to go Abuja. I don't know why. He said the coronavirus.
I'm here 1 or 2 hours now. They don't let me enter inside. I don't enter inside town. I'm going straight.
For the communities around the border between Oyo and Osun State, one of their economic mainstay is selling of smoked fish and meats. COVID-19 has brought changes to their sanitary inclinations, but not to their purse, they claimed.
Since coronavirus happened all over the world and Nigeria, so there's no market at all.
Osun State government had imposed a restriction of movement in and out of the state as part of efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19, while Oyo State imposed dusk to dawn curfew in its efforts at containment. In Ibadan, Nari Bilayi, Nta News.
And that does it from here. Nta2, it's back to you.
Thank you, Kemi. And we have another guest joining us via Skype, in the person of Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State. Thank you for joining us, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Now, in light of the recent death of a person suspected to have COVID-19, apart from sealing the doctor's clinic, what other measures is the government of Katsina State putting in place to curtail COVID-19?
I think what we are doing now is that we are identifying all the people he contacted, and so that we test them. We carry out the sample for testing at CDC Center in Abuja. And we have also provided food and other items for those that are being quarantined. We are not only sealing, but we are also restricting movements of all those that have been identified have contacted him before his death. And we are going through the records of his clinic to make sure that all those that he saw when he came back to Dora were identified. Some live in Jigawa State and some even in Niger Republic. So our medical team are on ground yesterday and working together with also the medical team from Jigawa to make sure that all those that he saw are identified and are kept away. Pending the results we are expecting to receive from CDC Center about the samples taken from some of the people that have been identified as immediate contacts.
So now there's a suspected case in Nta2. What's happening there now in this regard?
No, I think somebody reported sick when he returned from Lagos last week, and his samples have been taken to CDC. And until CDC brings out the result, well, we can say he's a suspect. That's why we have confined him to his compound and also confined those people who are looking after him to the compound, so that if he proves positive, we will be able to contain the situation within his locality.
And in terms of creating awareness, increased awareness and compliance from the people, how prepared is Katsina State to deal with the scourge of COVID-19?
I think we are very much prepared. We had formed 3 committees, and all these committees are working day and night to make sure that we deal with the situations. All suspected people coming into Katsina. You know, we closed our border over 10 days ago. However, we allow those who are indigenous of Katsina State to come in because we cannot turn them back. But what we do at the border, we have health officials that take their temperature, their names, their addresses, their villages and telephone numbers if they have, so that we'll be able to liaise with traditional institutions to confine these people for the next 14 days to make sure that they are safe to freely mingle with the people. And Committee of Enlightenment, we have Committee of the Ulamas, we have Committee of the Christian community. All they have gone around in the Traders Association, the road transport workers. We have mobilized almost every associations and religious groups to go around all the 30 local governments to make sure that there is enough sensitization. And we are providing also facilities, soap and water for washing hands in and out of various mosques in the streets, and also some churches.
Finally, Governor, has the NCDC team arrived Katsina to investigate the suspected case?
No, normally they don't come. We send in samples, and we have sent in samples to CDC Center in Abuja, and we're expecting the results. Our team are on ground, ready, and they have the equipment and the technical staff to carry out samples. I think what we are short of is the test kits and other some essentials that we need from CDC to make sure that we meet the daily demand of those who want to be tested or those whom we are suspecting that they need to be tested for the safety of the public.
Thank you very much for that insight. That was Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State on the situation of COVID-19 there. And now we'll join Abubakar in Maiduguri for more updates.
Thank you, Nta2, and it's good to join us here in Maiduguri. In a bid to complement government's effort in strengthening awareness and prevention against coronavirus pandemic, Police Community Relations Committee, PCRC, has donated hand-washing facilities to Borno State Police Command. Kujevana has more details.
Police, as government agency responsible for the enforcement of laws, are exposed to hazard in the course of discharging their duties. Hence the awareness campaign for proper hygiene and the need to maintain physical distancing with colleagues and offenders as preventive measures against coronavirus. Chairman PCRC Borno State, Sanda Sharif, said, considering the relationship with the police command to enhancing security of lives and property in the communities, provision of the hand-washing facilities to control and prevent the spread of the disease became imperative.
Who arrests the offenders is the police. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know whether they are carrying this virus with them. So it's a threat to public
safety.
Commissioner of Police Aliyu Nta2 re-echoed police culture of discipline in enforcing law and order and pledged to adhere to the basic rules and regulations of COVID-19, just as he urged PCRC in other states to emulate Borno.
The Inspector General of Police has warned the sensitivity of this virus, and we here in Borno, we are in full compliance.
The PCRC pledged to strengthen awareness in maintaining physical distancing and hand washing with soap and water as preventive measures against the dreaded disease. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
You're watching Nationwide. Let's now return to Nta2 in Abuja for more on Nationwide. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Abubakar, and thank you. And that concludes the news on NTA Nationwide. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Emeka. Ayo. Emma. What are you guys doing here? We came to call you. It's football time.
No, we stay at home time.